Hey guys, I just wanted to do this one on training with treats. I had one of my clients today. It was a Saturday today, it's the busiest day. Finally when I got home, I've managed to take the dogs down for a walk. But I was thinking about this. One of the clients said to me today, surely training with treats is just bribery. Well, that's not exactly what training with treats means. There's a couple of things that we've got to understand with regards to using food for training. So the first one we've got to understand is that when we say treats, what that's talking about is different values of food. So a lot of the time we use mixed values, so it might be the difference between kibble to normal treats to something of maybe fresh meat or something like that, which the dog seems to love and think is really high value. So we use the value variability. Then we've got to understand the difference between bribery and reward. Now, reward is a wonderful thing. If you think about what you do for your job, if you weren't being rewarded for it, you probably wouldn't want to do that job, would you? Dogs are the exact same. Okay, so if we're doing something like getting them to do simple commands and we force them to do it, we're saying the dog should do it because I'm telling them to do it. Now, if somebody was to do that to you at work and you weren't being paid, how would that feel? So that's something we've always got to remember. We're teaching the dog something new. The dog needs to understand that what they're doing is correct and what they might be doing is not correct. The easiest way of doing that is by giving positive reinforcement or by withholding that positive reinforcement when we've got the dog not doing what we're asking. Okay? So when we're talking about this, we then want to talk about conditioning the reinforcers. So you've got primary reinforcers. Primary reinforcers are things that are innately good. We know they're good. For the dog, that's going to be food, affection and play. For human beings, it's going to be food, affection and play. These are things that are innately good. If somebody I know gets a big hug from me, they're going to know that I am happy with what they're doing. If I give them a chocolate button, they're going to think, oh, he's obviously happy with me as well. If I'm playing a game with them, they're going to know that I'm fairly happy with them as well. Now, that's innately good, primary reinforcer. Secondary reinforcers are something that can become hugely powerful. But for secondary reinforcers to become very powerful, we've got to condition them. So when we're doing that with dogs, it could be a clicker. So that's when you hear people talking about using clickers for clicker training. They'll condition that by having the primary reinforcer of food, and as the dog eats the food, they're going to go click, so the dog knows that that is good. So the click then means that they're doing something right. That's when you can have the dog doing something right at a distance and you click, and then you can give the primary reinforcer after the fact because the click has marked what's good. Now you can do the exact same thing with a word, whether it be good, yes, good boy, good girl, good dog. It doesn't matter as long as you condition it. So that might start really, really simple. If you remember watching my last video, that's when I was talking about the art of attention or focus, so the name game. So you hold the treat, you say the dog's name, the dog looks at you, you give the food, and as they are eating the food, you say good. So the moment that goes in their mouth, good or good boy or good dog, that is the secondary reinforcer being conditioned. Now, if you condition that well enough and use that appropriately in training and you're consistently saying good followed by the primary reinforcer, that's going to become so conditioned that it then becomes what we call contra freeloaded. That means that you can then start to reduce the primary reinforcer because the secondary reinforcer has become conditioned and it is now strong enough to become the reward in itself. A good human example of this is money. If you didn't know what money actually was, if nobody had explained to you what money meant, you're going to use it for drawing on, for starting a fire, for wiping your bum with. You don't know what it's for, you just know it's paper. But when you understand what money means, when you understand that money is something of high value because that's what you've been educated to know. That's a secondary reinforcer. Now think about what people will do for money, and then understand that when you condition something successfully enough, that word, that click, can become as powerful. So when you're treat training, you are not bribing. What you're actually doing is using that to condition a secondary reinforcer. When that secondary reinforcer is well conditioned, you can then reduce the treats, and then eventually you don't need to use treats. So, in a nutshell, guys, that is why treat training is not bribery. And that's why it's extremely successful when you use it properly. Okay, have a good night.